She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome. This is Dani Johnson, and welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so very glad that you are here with us today. Today is going to be a day that is going to clearly blow your mind. I had the opportunity to meet a young woman just at First Steps to Success that just like shocked me. Her story shocked me, inspired me, moved me to my absolute core, and I believe it's going to do the same exact thing with you. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, every single day, we are bringing you either stories, content, skill development, ways to solve really hard problems, and even we bring a community of people through our social media channels, Facebook being one of them, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and on our live events, First Step Success and Creating a Dynasty. We bring you people and content that helps to move and shape your life to a better place. I know you want more out of life than what you're living right now. Even if you think that life is all so perfect and great, there's probably something deep down inside that maybe you don't even realize is some hidden potential that is really maybe even yanked down, not just hidden, but it needs to be broken free so that you would be all that you were designed to be. And that's exactly where Jenn found herself. She was in a pit of despair. She had led herself down a path that was crazy destructive and didn't realize it until after maybe the fun had gone away. And now she had been in a very violently abusive situation. So here on the Dani Johnson Show, we uncover success for you. What does it mean for you? Not according to status quo, what society says success is, because that's just a bunch of bunk. It really is. And we have millions of people trying to follow this certain little path for success, which is like going into debt and buying a bunch of junk and trying to look like a celebrity or trying to shop like a celebrity or trying to live like a celebrity, all on debt, not having real wealth, the wealth of relationships, the wealth of good health, the wealth of finances and being debt-free and planning for the future. Not even the wealth of being in good marriage, in good parenting status with your children. And so we want you to uncover what success means for you. And that's exactly what Jenn has been able to do for herself. So imagine yourself as far away as possible from your roots. What do I mean by that? Well, Jenn was raised in what we would call, I don't know, kind of a white picket fence Christian home, right? Parents that loved God, read the Bible, they went to church, they did the Bible study thing. I mean, they were really, really committed. And yet Jenn felt a calling to a totally different life. Jenn, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so good to hear your voice again, young lady. And you look beautiful, by the way. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's hard for you not to look beautiful. Okay, so Jenn, you're from New York right now, right?
Yes, I'm currently in Long Island, New York. It's very, very cold.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Cold and Dani just do not gel well together. Okay, so you're up in Long Island, New York, and the story starts where?
Mm-hmm. It starts as far back as I can remember. So I don't even know how old I was because I was so young. But it all began when I was, introduced to to sexual things at a very young age. I was essentially molested, Mm-hmm. And it created this, I knew it was wrong. I had Christian parents, who told me, my mom, I remember she told me, so if somebody, touches you in a wrong way, you have to tell mom. And mm-hmm. And it's wrong, and it was confusing to me because when I was a child, it was not between me and an adult, but me and other children. Yeah. So I didn't understand what that meant. And I believed that I was just not a good person, that it was my fault. And whoever this God was that I was raised with, I was told loved me, actually didn't love me, mm-hmm. and that I was destined to go to hell. And I had a lot of sleeping problems at night because I was tormented by this idea, because I remember praying to God, but I'm a kid, I'm supposed to go to heaven if I die right now, but I know I'm not, you know?
Wow.
And
so can I ask you a question about that? Because this very act in your life and this kind of mindset eventually led you to prostitution and becoming a meth addict. So did your parents, and I know you love your parents, you have a great relationship with them, and they did the very best they could to raise you, and they wanted to instill into you Christian values. But did you feel like, okay, if I do something bad, I'm going to hell, and if I'm a good girl, then I get to go to heaven? Did you kind of draw that conclusion yourself as a child?
Yeah, I mean, that was like how the only way I could understand it as a kid. Like, I didn't understand what forgiveness really was, like, you know, and at the time I felt responsible for what was happening.
And so you're saying that you and some kids, very little, were exploring each other's bodies.
Essentially, yeah. But I was basically like, you know, bullied into it because I was afraid of it as a kid. I remember I felt like it was wrong. I remember my heart would race and I felt scared. And it's like, I know I'm not going to die, you know, so why am I scared? You know, like, what is this fear? And ultimately it was because I knew it was wrong.
So hold on. This is very interesting to me because you said that you were bullied into...
Yeah, like, you know, you're being a wimp, you know, like...
No, but what did they try to get you to do? Because here, this is important. I think a lot of parents don't know that this is actually happening to their children and what it opens their child up to. And especially these parents who... And your mom did a good job of saying, hey, if anyone touches you, you know, in a wrong way. But did she define a wrong way?
Yeah, like touch your private parts.
Okay,
she said,
but she did. But did she say if an adult or some man tries to touch your private parts?
Stranger.
If a stranger tries to touch your private parts, okay? Because this is just so interesting and so powerful. Because a lot of parents have their way of saying it without just coming out and saying it. So in this case, your mom said, if a stranger touches your private parts, then you need to come tell me because it's wrong for them to do that. But the stranger is not who tried to touch your private parts.
No.
It was friends that you knew. Right?
And so, it's like, you know, I'm not angry at any of those kids at all. Like, you know, I have no I forgave them. I released them. We were children, you know, we just got exposed to pornography at a very young age.
Okay. So hold on, let's go there. Now you just dropped a whole nother thing there. What do you mean you got exposed to pornography at a very young age?
I remember the introduction was finding a stash of pornography.
Where?
I remember it was like, you know, magazines. And I remember thinking like it was wrong. You know, I don't know if that was pre all that stuff happening or after all that stuff happening, because again, it was so long ago.
Where did you find the stack? Where was the stack of pornography magazines?
Where was it?
Yeah.
In a bathroom.
In your house or somebody else's house?
Somebody else's house.
Somebody else's house. Okay, cool. All right. So I want to get back to this bullied into exploring each other's bodies and touching each other's private parts. How did that happen? So, and do you remember about how old you were? And I want you to kind of describe how you were bullied into this.
I kind of... It's hard for me to talk about this stuff because I know who they are, you know, and I don't want to expose anybody.
Don't expose anybody. I don't want you to expose anybody. I want you to be fully comfortable. This is more about helping other people and even the parents who are raising kids to be able to draw the children out to talk about this and to prevent it if at all possible, because we see what the effects was. And by the way, I did the same thing as a child. I did the same exact thing. I wasn't necessarily bullied into it, but it was a girl that I stayed the night with. I must have been in about 3rd grade or something. And it was just a friend from school. And we shared a bed. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, she was touching me. And then I was touching her. And it was my mom never said anything. My mom never had a single sexual conversation with me other than when I was 14 said, do you want to get on the pill? And I'm like, what's that? You know, so you don't get pregnant. I'm like, how do you get pregnant? I did not even know those things at 14. And that was the end of the conversation. She was like, okay, forget it. and that was the drop. That was my sex education from my mother. So anyway, so I'm saying that my mom didn't have any of those kind of discussions either. It was literally like something that happened. And I was molested when I was 3 years old. And so for some reason, I found myself in many of those types of circumstances throughout my life and then ended up incredibly promiscuous as a direct result. So I understand where you're coming from, and it's causing me to kind of think about, yeah, how did that happen? So when you say you were bullied, so did somebody start touching you and then you were trying to pull away?
So, like, you know, I just remember, like, you know, being like the situation would start. They would, like, we would call it a game, you know.
Okay.
It was the game.
Okay.
And I remember, like, you know, if I was hesitant, it's like, you know, stop being a baby, stop, you know, like, you know, stop being a scaredy cat, you know, because I was always like a more timid child. I was always, you know, when kids would challenge me, I was afraid. You know, I always felt smaller, inferior, and shy, you know. So it was very easy to manipulate me. And I didn't know how to stand up for myself because, you know, I didn't know how to communicate, you know, like, and I felt like when I would try to explain, like, oh, I bit this kid because they were hurting me, they were, you know, making fun of me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Sure. I was the one who was punished, you know. I was the one who was punished because you could see.
Because you would respond. Yeah, and you would respond. Obviously, responding in anger, whether you're hitting someone or, like you said, you bit somebody.
Like, and it's not like my parents, you know, like, you know, weren't never around, you know. It's like they were immigrant parents who had to work really, really hard to make a living and, you know, would let me stay in the care of some people, you know, that we knew and we loved them, you know.
And trusted.
And we trust them, you know, and it just so happened that this stuff invaded our childhood to the point where, like, you know, I remember there was like a group of us kids that met in like the bathroom, and we were like, this is wrong, and I don't think we should all do this anymore or talk about it ever again.
Wow.
And
so something in your gut as a child felt like that I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be, you know, touching or letting somebody touch me.
There was something wrong with me because I was the one who was feeling guilty about it, you know, like I thought that I was supposed to feel normal about it, but nothing about it felt normal.
Wow. Wow. And so because the friends or whoever, they were the aggressors in the situation, or introduced you at least, and then you kind of get caught into this kind of thing. And so in your mind as a child, you're thinking, okay, well, it's normal for everybody else. Why isn't it not normal for me? Is there something wrong with me because I don't feel good about this?
Yeah. It led me to question myself, you know, like as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Because when you're exposed to like what those things feel like at a very young age, you get an addiction to it. So like at a very young age.
That is actually so true, and that's exactly how addictions actually start. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
If you think that what happened to Jen could never happen to you or your kids, stay tuned. Dani will teach you how to recognize the thought patterns behind it. Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org. I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success. If you've ever wanted to make millions, change the world, be the voice for the voiceless, and have a blast doing it, then you need to spend some time with this lady right here. She's been doing it for years, and she'll show you how. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So there you are. You find yourself in a situation and you ask yourself, how in the world did I get here? That's exactly where Jenn Kimura was. She was in that place as a prostitute, a meth addict, being verbally abused and abused in other ways. She was so desperate, yet, even in an overdose, didn't feel like she could call her family or even deserve to go to a hospital. Jenn, her story is a transformational story. And we're digging in deep, like, where did it start? How does a prostitute become a prostitute? How does a drug addict become a drug addict? Now, I don't know if it is the same for everybody, but we're hearing how it was for Jenn. Now, you might ask yourself right now, Dani, what in the world does this have to do with success? And what does it have to do with my life? Well, because there's some things that have happened in your past that have led you to have certain belief systems that have caused you either to run into things that have not been helpful and beneficial to you or anybody else, and or that have helped you to become beneficial and helpful to yourself and other people. You see, everything inside of your mind was formed from the time that you were born until you were about 6 to 8 years old. All of your adult personality was completely formed, and how you view life was formed out of that small little season of your life. And for the rest of your life, you make career decisions, financial decisions, marriage decisions, parenting decisions, health decisions, all based on the programming that was programmed into you and the experiences that you had as a young child. So we're having the opportunity to look inside the life of a former prostitute and drug addict to see how did she get there and how has she come out of that and where is she today. Jenn, thank you so much for joining us. She's here live on Skype from New York, from Long Island, New York. So Jenn, we were talking about in our first segment about, the very first introduction of pornography into a child who grew up in an immigrant home with parents that worked hard, that loved you. They were Christians. They did their best to instill Christian values into you. And yet, through, again, friends, other sources that everybody has, right? Even stay-at-home moms have kids that are being molested. That's a reality. And so the fact is that it's important for parents to have these really important and engaging conversations. In the case where your mom said, don't let a stranger touch your privates, well, your friends were not strangers and they were young kids. And to you, they weren't an adult. Maybe the stranger meant some strange man, and so there was that category. So here you are, you're introduced to this promiscuous way as a child, and a lot of children are, and it usually starts off incredibly innocent. And you said, so through time, now this was happening a lot. You felt guilty every single time it was happening. But did you ever put a stop to it, Jenn?
I didn't know that I could. Yeah. It was like I became, when you get I know for me, being exposed so young, it created an addiction, you know, because there's feelings that are stirred up that shouldn't have been at such a young age, and you don't know how to talk about them. Or
what are those feelings, Jenn? Talk about them now as an adult.
Wanting to do those things, you know, that you knew were wrong, but you didn't I didn't understand why, you know, like I became a slave to, you know, masturbation and seeking out pornography. And
like at how old would you say that you first started masturbating?
I like 3 years old, I would say, at least. I don't remember. It's like, I think I only have like literally maybe a handful of memories, like 1 through 5 memories where I didn't know what, you know, sexual desire was. And I didn't even have the words for it, sexual desire. Like I didn't even understand what had happened until I was much older, until like literally last year, realizing like that wasn't my fault. Because my whole life I walked and lived and breathed like that was my fault. Wow. Like that was what I sought, like, you know, which leads me to say, like, you know, like I don't even like to call myself a prostitute, because during the time that I was sleeping around, I was just a big whore, because I didn't even feel like I was worth enough to charge any money. Like I didn't have any self-worth. I thought, like, you know, if I was in a situation like that all I'm good for is for that person to sleep with me. That's it. That's all. My destiny is to be this thing to be used and to just have pleasure my whole entire life. That was it. That was it.
Wow. And so as a young person, you found yourself feeling even called to that lifestyle, being called to that way of living, even though your parents were Christians and raised you in a Christian home. You just felt that's what you were made for. You were made to just be a sexual being for somebody else to have pleasure in and for you to experience that pleasure. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to dig deeper into Jenn's story and her transformation right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success, register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
So I just want to give you a little bit of my story. This is my first time sharing my story on stage, so I'm a little nervous. But I'm excited. I was just asked, like, seriously 3 minutes ago to share my story. So we'll see how this goes. So my name, like Ray said, my name's Carradine Roundy. I am from Wyoming. Is there anyone else from Wyoming here? Yeah! I was thinking, I'm like, I think I'm the only one that I've met from Wyoming. That's cool. I'm glad. So prior to plugging into Dani Johnson and First Steps to Success, my husband and I were completely drowning in debt. We got this new job and we increased our income, so we increased our way of living, which is what happens. And we were young, we were just married, and we completely bought more than we needed. We bought a new house, we already had a truck loan, we bought a new car, we lived to the max. And our marriage started to struggle, and we got to where all of our fights were about money constantly. And my husband had a really good job, so we had plenty of money. That was not the issue. It was that we never kept any of it. We spent it on stuff we didn't need. So just a little bit of background. It's just my husband and I, we have no kids, and we bought a 6-bedroom house. I know. Well, that's just, we had the money. The bank told us we had the money we could, so we did. And so obviously we spent the money to fill those rooms in that house on stuff we didn't need. So anyways, our marriage was failing. I mean, we were young, we just got married, and all of our fights were over stupid stuff that was unnecessary. And so I remember one time, just like a quick little look into what it was like. I remember one time sitting in front of our fireplace, our nice fireplace in our nice house, and we were fighting over how we were going to pay for Christmas for our families. And that was the eye-opener for us, that something had to change. And so we made a decision, and I started a business, and that's what actually opened me up to DaniJohnson.com and to First Steps to Success. And so after coming out of First Steps to Success, we have now been able to pay off, this is crazy, we have now been able to pay off just over $300,000, which is completely crazy because we just thought debt was something that you live with. You know, you're always going to have a mortgage, you're always going to have a house payment, you know, car payments. That's just the way life goes. And little did we know that that's not the case. So we now live in a smaller house. We love it. We actually, I have less house to clean, which I'm good with. And we live so much more simple. And our marriage is completely turned around. We no longer fight about money. We wonder where we're going to invest into next and how soon we're going to get, you know, the mortgage paid off. And that's exciting to us. So everything's just completely changed. And, you know, the relationships that we've been able to grow with other people that are wondering what we're doing, that's been amazing because we've met so many great people, and learning what Dani's going to teach this afternoon has helped us grow to being people more than anything. And that, like, we hated people before, both of us. Like, we never had those skills. And so I'm really excited for this afternoon. This afternoon's going to be completely transforming to you. As far as being, like she mentioned this morning, you know, like, your business is people, your business isn't your product. And so with that being said, I just want to have you help me welcome back my mentor and America's favorite millionaire, Dani Johnson.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Have you ever found yourself in a place where you didn't want to be? But maybe secretly you did want to be there. Like, there was like something that was drawing you to be there. You didn't want to be there, but you were there. I know I have. Absolutely. As a former homeless woman who was abusing drugs and alcohol, abusing my body, I was suicidal, knowing I shouldn't be doing these things, but yet the urge was drawing me in. And did that hurt my success? Of course it hurt my success at that time in my life. I almost took my own life because of the hatred that I had for myself and the hatred I had for everyone else. Now, yours may not be as intense as Jenn from New York and mine was, but you might have that. And it is affecting your job. In fact, it could be affecting your job today. It could affect how you're treating your employees, how you're treating your management, meaning there's things that are hidden beneath the surface. Your potential could be locked up in a prison because of some things that you have not yet dealt with. The way you're thinking about people, but most importantly, how you think about you. Jenn's joining us from New York. She's a former prostitute, drug addict, who has an amazing transformation. She was molested by other children as a child, drawn into a very promiscuous life of, exploring different things that children often do explore and yet don't get the opportunity to talk about it. Or even parents that don't know how to stir up that conversation to even explore it without bringing shame to their child. So, Jenn, you were saying that you found yourself in that situation where you literally thought you were made to be this woman that was only used for sex. And now you find yourself, you feel called to move into this sexual life as a young woman, and you get introduced to drugs. Mm-hmm. And that's how you were living before you found out about DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell me about how you first got introduced to drugs.
I remember, like, it's like in high school, I always struggled with making friends growing up. Always very not confident, very shy. I went through a phase of, like, self-harm, actually, because I grew up in white suburbia. So I felt like to be beautiful, I needed to be white. And I went through a phase of rejecting who I was throughout middle school. And also with just carrying the memories of my childhood and being a slave to all that. So I just felt like I was unmarriable. There was never going to be anybody who could love me. And I disguised it as being a strong person, actually, in high school. I would say, oh, I'm not dating because we're kids. I don't believe in it. When in reality, I didn't believe that there would be anybody who would be interested in me. And I remember, like, in, like, senior year of high school, I started having more friends and feeling more confident in myself. I, found my identity in music at the time. I loved music, and that was where I felt at peace at home. And the group of friends that I had, like, they partied and stuff and, like, smoked weed and everything. And I didn't really get into, like, super into that stuff until I want to say my first year of college, really.
Wow. So what was the first drug that you participated with?
I actually don't remember.
Really?
I know that I smoked weed, but I know that I also tried MDMA, Molly.
Which is what?
Which is it's like it's basically like ecstasy.
Which would make perfect sense with the whole promiscuous thing.
Yeah, it does. It makes absolute sense.
So you think it was either weed, or you think it was weed, or it was ecstasy, one or the other?
It was one or the other. My first year of college was like, it wasn't honestly that crazy. It was actually mostly lonely because I went to a commuter school in the city. And trying to, like, have some semblance of friends and trying to make friends with the poor people skills that I had at the time. So I just kept in contact with the old friends in high school, but I would still go out to drinking was mostly like, what the intro to everything.
Right.
It loosened me up. I felt like I could be more confident and everything. And, I felt like I finally had, like, a home with, like, friends, like being accepted. Like, being accepted was, like, what I longed for.
Right.
And my first year of college, I had my first boyfriend. He was the sweetest person ever. We met in high school. We were friends in high school. And, my parents actually joke, like, looking back, we thought he was a bad influence on you, Jen, but it turns out it was the other way around. And I broke up with him because I felt like I see it now. I felt undeserving of his, love for me, because when we were dating, I still remembered a little bit of my childhood memories, but somewhere in between him and breaking up with him, I forgot. I, like, folded it up and completely forgot that when I was a kid, those things were very real in my life.
Right. So, Jen, let's fast forward to, like, the deepest, darkest place of your life. And when I met you in Atlanta, you'd said, Dani, prior to coming to First Steps to Success, I was a prostitute. I showed up at my very first steps as a meth addict. You would not even recognize me. I was like this scrawny, fiending person at my very first event. And I was just like, what? You have to be kidding me. And to see your beautiful transformation and all that God had done inside of your heart and in your life has been amazing. And so take me to, like, one place of the deepest, darkest time of your life that you finally came to the place of, I got to change.
I'll just describe, the night that changed everything, essentially, because that was really where the suicide first popped in, like, was always kind of there, but I felt like I was never strong enough to do it, essentially.
Right.
Like, if I were to commit suicide, it'd have to be from an overdose so that I could go out with a bang. That was the idea.
Wow.
So I could go out while having fun was the explanation in my mind.
Wow.
But I had last year had gotten into a relationship that was extremely, extremely unhealthy. He introduced crystal meth to me. And I was also, along with crystal meth, doing other drugs to be able to, like, you know, be functional in society by having a job, you know, make money, be awake at the job, be present.
What were the drugs? Like, help me understand. So you're saying that people that do meth can be functional at work?
Yes, actually.
Wow.
So basically, crystal meth is like, you know, I would describe it as a really intense cocaine almost. Like, you just have this euphoria. And what I didn't realize was that it made you really, really want sex. And that's why it was in our relationship, because we were a very promiscuous couple. I remember finding out that actually girls who were sex trafficked around the world would be introduced to this drug so that they can cope better with their clients, because it made sex pleasurable in a different level, in a way where it was like, you know, idolatry, essentially. Like that became your focus, essentially.
Wow.
And I met a lot of other meth users who they were very promiscuous because of that drug.
Okay. So you said you were doing other drugs that helped you function during the day in addition to the meth. So what were some of the other drugs?
I would take a caffeine and ephedrine to help me focus and get woken up. So I was introduced to it by somebody in my life who was like a bodybuilder kind of type.
Okay.
And he was like, whenever I need to get focused really quick, I take this, you know? Okay. And it's actually, it used to be in diet pills in the past, apparently.
Yep.
But it became illegal because it had psychoactive effects.
Okay, so what else? What other drugs were you taking to help you?
I was smoking weed like every single day, like at least 3 or 4 times a day.
Okay, so you're smoking weed, you're dropping ephedrine, you're doing meth, and you're functional, like you're able to work a job.
Yeah.
Like that is
people
crazy.
Don't realize that people who do drugs are highly functional in their eyes, or like to the one that's not looking, that it's just gonna go.
So are you telling me right now that I could have somebody on my staff that's doing meth and I don't know it?
I mean, if they're doing too much, you're definitely gonna notice.
Okay, but it could be like, you know, anyone who's you know at work right now, that they could actually be working with someone that's doing meth and we don't know it. Like, I mean, so like, it's the ones that we know.
I feel like I see.
So you're saying the ones that we know, right? Because I have family members who've done meth, my sister. Okay, so the ones that we do know, you know, that their teeth are all now messed up, they're fiending, their body is gaunt, they've got a gray cast. No, I'm saying those are the ones that are doing a little too much, is what I'm hearing. Like those are the guys that are just doing too much of it. Okay. All right, so we're talking to Jenn Kimura today from Long Island, New York, former meth addict, drug addict, prostitute, kid who was molested by other kids as a child, felt like she was called to that life even though she grew up in a Christian home. How does this apply to you? Your past dictates your future if you let it, until you have that defining moment. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
It only took one question to start Jenn on the road to freedom, and that question could help you save someone's life. It's coming up next on The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week, and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage, and I became a mother that I was proud of, versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
My name is Andris and I'm from Latvia. Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a struggling English teacher back home. I had a language school that I started when I was 21 and had grown it to be pretty okay in my city. But at the same time, I had acquired a debt of $60,000. In a matter of 8 to 9 months, I got rid of my debt, and by 2011, we had our first $1 million year. This has been amazing. We grew our school from about 100 students to 2,000 students, and I can only highly recommend for you to come to the next event and be part of this community and learn the tools that will help you to succeed.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, my family and I were hemorrhaging under the pressures of debt. Since attending First Steps to Success in January of 2014, my family and I have paid off over $147,000 in 19 months. We're completely consumer debt-free. We have restored relationships, and our business is growing at a rate of 15% at every event. Your next step is to sign up for the next First Steps to Success and start creating your own story.
My name is Jeff Conyers, and prior to First Steps to Success, I was a struggling business owner. I had discovered that my business account went negative $5,000, and I realized that I did not have a business plan and I needed to do something. Fast forward to 1 year after, I have now created, just by implementing the tools at First Steps to Success, over $50,000, created another business, improved my personal and business relationships. Man, it's like the story is forever changing, and it just gets better and better. I don't know about you or what you're going through, but I would highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, we were drowning under a mountain of debt. We were heading to divorce court. We had failing businesses and toxic relationships. Since plugging into First Steps to Success, our marriage has been restored. We have paid off over $56,000 in 11 months. We've helped our community pay off over $300,000 in 14 months. My business has grown in over 600% in 4 months. And for the first time, I could say I'm just loving life. I have great relationships. So if you are fine where you are, then this event is not for you. But if you're ready to reach your goal and to change your life, then I highly recommend that you get registered for the next event.
Hi, my name is Jill Kearns. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Prior to coming to First Steps to Success, my husband and I were struggling financially and were hurting in our relationship a lot. We needed more time together, and we just were struggling with that because of the finances. And so since plugging in, we've actually paid off over $280,000 in debt. We are completely debt-free, and more than anything else, the look on my husband's face of relief and excitement about where our future lies, and the traveling and the fun, enjoyable times that we'll get to spend together as a family is totally worth it. So if you want to have better relationships with your significant other, your children, if you have a desire to be completely debt-free and released from that bondage for whatever reason, whatever the burdens are, your next step is to get to First Steps to Success right now.
So prior to getting started to DaniJohnson.com, I was a college dropout. I was working a bottom of the barrel type job. I started plugging into her training. I've skyrocketed through the ranks of corporate America. I've tripled my income in the last 5 years. That's all fine and dandy, but it wasn't, there's a part of me that had the part missing. So I ended up using Dani's prospecting skills, and I ended up meeting the love of my life.
Change your habits, change your future. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Okay, so you could be hiding something in your life right now, and you think nobody else knows it. And there's a chance that maybe people don't. But I think eventually you come to a head when you're doing something to abuse your body, when you're doing something to abuse your mind, when you're doing something that eventually leads you to the end, which would be suicidal thoughts, and even taking action on wanting to commit suicide. Then I guess that's at the point where you realize, I've come to the end and something's got to change. This is exactly where Jenn, former prostitute, drug addict, meth addict of all things, found herself prior to hearing about the website, DaniJohnson.com. If this is your first time joining us here at the Dani Johnson Show, this is the place where you come to learn how to define success for you. This is the place where you come to find the things, that hidden potential that you have that is behind bars. Maybe that potential has been dormant. Maybe that potential has been tormented, locked down, shut down by other people. Or maybe it's been shut down by the things, the choices that you made in your past. That's where Jenn found herself. And here on the Dani Johnson Show today, we are interviewing a powerful story of transformation so that you can follow the same kind of steps that she did to be able to change your life. So Jenn, you wound up at a First Steps to Success October of 2015 as a meth addict.
2016,
2016.
Actually.
So we're talking a year ago as
Yes.
a meth addict.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you come?
I came because that summer, okay, so spring last year was when I remembered, and I know it was God now. It was like, I would describe it as, I was sitting at the water in the city, in Tribeca area, and I had picked up a bunch of weed from my dealer. We smoked together, just hung out, and I had constant anxiety, like I couldn't breathe. Mm-hmm. That's also why I smoked so much, but it wasn't doing much, obviously. And I remember sitting at the water looking out. It was nighttime, and I remember thinking to myself, I feel so exhausted. I'm not happy. I'm actually extremely, extremely sad. And everywhere I look, everybody's sad. What am I missing? This can't be my life, you know? And it was like I got these bucket of memories dumped on top of my head, and that was the first time I realized and I remembered that it wasn't my fault, that all those things were not my fault, that I was actually molested. And, you know, it made me realize the life I was living, who I believed I was a lie. Yes. And it changed my whole world. And I didn't know what to do with it for the longest time. I actually didn't tell anybody for a month and a half. The first person I told was a person I was seeing, and he made me feel terrible about it. He was like, you know, his reaction was so non-reactionary. He was like, well, that's like normal, Jenn. It happens in like 1 in 3 children in America, you know? And I was like, if it's so normal, how come I don't feel normal, you know? And it was just something that I couldn't breathe. Every single day I could not breathe. And I remember there was a woman in my life. Her name is Claudia Louie. She attended your events about 10 years ago. And was living her dream, essentially. Her and her family were doing great, and they were traveling the world, and they landed in Queens, and we were keeping in touch because she's very close with my mom. They're friends. And I always felt comfortable around her, and now I can see it's because she was applying what she learned at Dani and was forming me.
Okay, hold on right there, because someone that's listening has no idea what you just said. So you're saying that Claudia had been to a First Steps to Success, and for some reason you felt really comfortable with her because she was using some new communication skills that she had learned that helped you to feel comfortable. Keep going.
Yes, she made me feel so comfortable and so loved, and like, I can talk to you. And she always left me with a message, which was, if you need help with your finances, I'm in Queens, let me know. And I remember I was in some debt, you know, and it's been weighing me down. And I kept on trying to meet up with her to get these things sorted out. And I rain checked with her. And on the 4th time I was rain checking with her, I kept on making excuses. It was honestly because I was doing drugs. I was just like, I'm too tired, when in reality I was detoxing because I did drugs the whole 24 hours prior to that.
Wow.
And I remember that one really, really hot Brooklyn day, I was sweating on my stoop, not just from the heat, but from, you know, my body just trying to clean itself out. I was talking to her on the phone, I'm so sorry, I got to reschedule. And she asked me a very pointed question, what's the one thing that's stopping you from reaching your goals, from getting your dreams, from you know, remember you told me you want to travel, Jenn? What's the one thing you need to solve right now that's stopping you from getting anything done? you know? And I remember this like conversation happening in my mind, like, I can't tell her because she's going to tell my mom. Oh, wait, maybe I can tell her because she's asked me about marijuana and my lifestyle and has never judged me once and accepts me for who I am. And she's going to respect our conversation. So I'm going to take a leap of faith and tell her.
Wow. Can I just stop you right there? I got to stop you right there because it is so powerful. And this is what our community is about and why we have such a supportive community. And Claudia is one of those people, a part of that community. And what did you just say? Wait a second, I can trust her. She's never judged me. I've confessed that I do drugs. I confessed who all the people that I've slept with. I've confessed all these things that I've done, and she's never judged me. I can trust her. She's a safe person. And that's exactly what we are about. That's exactly what the show is about. That's exactly what our community is about, all the business people that we work with. That's exactly what we're about. And we see so often. Now, look, you are afraid you're going to be judged by your parents. And I think kids largely are always afraid of disappointing their parents. And so they're usually the last people that we want to go to confess our darkness to. But I love that Claudia used the communication skills that we teach at First Steps to Success and in the book First Steps to Wealth. Like, it's the same exact communication skills that we teach. She followed those, and that drew you out of a pit of darkness, a place of suicide, doing meth of all things. Like, okay, it's an intense drug that many say you'll never, ever be free from. And you clearly are free from meth as well as all the other drugs that you were doing. So that conversation then leads you to, and she tells you about First Steps to Success.
Yeah.
And you show up. We've got 60 seconds left. I'm so sorry. I can't believe how fast this interview's gone. So what's happened since First Steps to Success?
Since First Steps to Success, my relationship with my family is completely restored. Being at these events has allowed me to dream for the first time in my entire life. I never dreamt because I never believed I could do anything. And it's just been an amazing healing process, you know, seeing my family, you know, be healed together. And having my vision opened up has just been amazing. For the first time, like, I feel like I can breathe and I have peace in my heart and that everything's going to be okay. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything. I continue to go to these events because I still am learning. I'm still learning how to reprogram the way that I programmed my mind growing up and to be more positive about things and to be a hard worker and to continue just pushing because I believe in God. Yes. He saved me. Yes. He saved my life. And he spoke to me and I didn't even know it was him for a long time. So I feel so grateful for the people that were in my life. You know, I found out so many people prayed for me, fasted over my life, and they didn't even know me. Yeah. And I see how it's protected me. Despite all the crazy stuff I put myself through, there was things that I wanted that didn't happen. Yeah. And I was angry about it, but I know it's answered prayers of protection because I don't know where I would be if that happened.
That's right. That's right. Jenn, thank you so much for sharing these deep, deep, dark things. And we can see the transformation in your heart that has peace in it today and the results that you've gotten as a direct result of love. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
But I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's D-A-N-I Johnson.com. Get your copy today. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So if you are in that dark place, as you heard where Jenn was, and you have taken your life to spin completely out of control, there is a place that you can say enough is enough. And there are people that are praying for you right now. There are people that are rooting for you, even though you feel you are completely alone. And there is one, your Father in heaven, who is for you and not against you. And my prayer is that you come and get engaged with a supportive community. If you don't have a supportive community, I promise you, I know of one. Jenn is now a part of that one and has been a part of that one for the last year. Why? Because of another woman who first became a part of that community 10 years before, and she activated the things that she learned. And that was, don't exalt your heart to be higher than somebody else's, with your pride judging a drug addict, a prostitute, a kid who's lost and confused and in debt and miserable and destroying herself. Don't judge. Reach out with love. Reach out with encouragement. The other thing that Claudia did is she followed up with Jenn. She persisted with Jenn. There was no gain that Claudia had with Jenn. She wasn't going to get some kind of reward, but she cared. She cared. And she dropped those seeds of encouragement and became a safe place. Are you a safe place for your staff? Are you a safe place for your family? Are you that safe place for the guy at the grocery store or the girl at the grocery store? Are you that safe place for your cousins, your uncles, your parents? Are you that safe place? Or are you just another one of those judges out there with your heart filled with pride that keeps people out and keeps them moving forward towards their self-destruction and even eventual suicide? The choice is yours. You're going to leave a legacy on this earth. What will it be? The judge that no one could trust, or that safe place that people felt they could be real with? How does that help your success? It helps in every way. Managers that don't have the trust of their people lose great people. Business owners who are not a safe place don't get to go as far as they want to. Everything in your life is tied to the character of your heart, whether it's a judge or you're safe. Choice is yours. I hope to see you at First Steps to Success, January 19th, 20th, and 21st in San Diego, California. You'll meet Jenn there, and you'll even see her family there. Get your ticket today. And by the way, come join us on our podcast. Go to iTunes. You can find it on iTunes, the Dani Johnson Podcast. We would love to see you there on a daily basis as well. Thanks so much for being with us today. And if you felt like today's interview was inspirational for you, if it was challenging you, we want to hear from you. please leave us a review on our podcast. If you've got the podcast app with your iPhone or with an Android, please leave a review and let us know how the information is helping you. And or come over to our website, DaniJohnson.com. Again, that's DaniJohnson.com. You can get a hold of First Steps to Wealth, which has some of the communication skills that Claudia had learned to be able to draw this poor young lady out of the pit of despair. First Steps to Wealth, get your copy today. You can even get a free copy and download it right today. We'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless. Bye-bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.